Chapter 33-38 Dragon King. The array I set up in the Rebirth Paradise has been destroyed. Battleships have arrived. Inside the Dragon Palace, the Heavenly Formation array was destroyed and reported immediately. Just as expected. Wang Xian nodded plainly. The Cursed Spirit Village should have reached an agreement with the Iron and Steel Union, or they should have joined the Iron and Steel Union. They would definitely send battleships to occupy the Rebirth Paradise. As for the name of the paradise, it was given by Wang Xian and the rest. Dragon King, this is an opportunity for the Lich Kingdom. Since they bear a grudge against us, they won't let go of this opportunity. Prime Minister Turtle said to Wang Xian with glistening eyes. The Lich Kingdom isn't worth mentioning. What's your understanding of the Iron and Steel Union? Wang Xian smiled and asked Prime Minister Turtle. According to the information on the Universe AI and the Nine Candles Demon Tribe of the Light Clan, there's a 70% chance that the Iron and Steel Union has a combat machine that can unleash the destructive power of a level 9 universe supremacy. A war machine of this level should be a cornerstone of the Iron and Steel Union. I wonder if they will use it when they deal with us. Prime Minister Turtle reported. At the border of the chaotic continent, a level 8 universe supremacy was the strongest combat power. Even if the Iron and Steel Union had a war machine that could unleash a level 9 universe supremacy, it would only be stationed in the Iron and Steel Union's territory. At most, the Iron and Steel Union could have 2 such attacks. Nothing to worry about. Roving Crab said confidently when he heard the news. I'll be counting on you guys for this battle. Wang Xian smiled and said to him. Rest assured, Dragon King. If that's all they have, the devouring dragon will kill as many of them as they come. Roving Crab said confidently. Wang Xian nodded plainly and said, Get all the members of the Dragon Palace ready to step into the chaotic continent. Yes. Prime Minister Turtle answered immediately and left the Dragon King Palace. Now, the only one who can threaten the Dragon Palace in the Untainted Land is probably the Cursed People. When the time comes, I'll slaughter them first. Wang Xian leaned on the dragon throne and murmured. However, on the ancestral tree soul-returning wood branch, there were dozens of pitch-black round balls that looked like soul-returning fruits. Over the past 6 months, Wang Xian had ordered and lied to bring him to the Pond of Curse a few times. Currently, there were about 1,000 cursed dragons in the Dragon Palace. Without the other forces knowing, this was also a great killing weapon. Most importantly, after the Dragon Palace's cursed dragon was killed, it could be resurrected with the soul-returning wood. 5 days passed in the blink of an eye. On the 5th day, Wang Xian floated above the Dragon Palace and looked at the vast land ahead. To the left and right were the Fire Dragon Palace, the Water Dragon Palace and the Demonic Dragon Dark World. The 4 Dragon Palaces slowly headed towards the Great Desolate Continent. The Dragon Palace's speed was very fast. Soon, it stepped into the sky above the chaotic continent. This scene was seen clearly by some of the experts who came to watch the battle. Dragon Palace is about to embark. I heard that the Dragon Palace is going to the depths of the chaotic continent. It will take them half a year to reach their destination. Only the Dragon Palace can fly above the chaotic continent for half a year. However, even for the Dragon Palace, this journey will be extremely dangerous. I wonder when the Iron and Steel Union will take action and if the Lich Kingdom will join in. The group of experts in the starry sky behind him discussed in low voices. They did not dare to step into the chaotic continent. They could only follow the news of the Dragon Palace through the smart computer. The Dragon Palace is here. The forces at the border of the chaotic continent were also paying attention to the Dragon Palace's landing battle. Seeing the Dragon Palace stepping into the sky above the chaotic continent, they thought to themselves. The 4 Dragon Palaces flew above the chaotic continent, emitting a mighty aura. Some wild beasts sensed it and hid far away. The journey this time was very, very far. It would take at least half a year to reach the destination. Wang Xian looked around and waited patiently. In the dragon field of the Dragon Palace, the members of the Dragon Palace were entrenched, ready for battle. The news of the Dragon Palace entering the chaotic continent had also spread to every race. This time, the Dragon Palace would fly over the sky above many races and forces. It could be said that every move of the Dragon Palace was under the watch of many forces. 5 days passed quickly. The Dragon Palace flew in a straight line and did not make any changes. Based on the current route of the Dragon Palace, they will reach the Blessed Land by this route. The moment the Dragon Palace stepped into the sky above the chaotic continent, the Iron and Steel Union already knew all their movements. 5 days later, the Lich King and the experts from the Wrapped Corpse tribe arrived at the Iron and Steel Union. Currently, this is the temporary place to suppress the Dragon Palace. They will arrive 3 months later. This is a deep pit called the Nine Origins Pit. The deep pit is emitting deathly energy. The feng shui here is good. Let's make this the burial ground of the Dragon Palace. The leader of the Iron and Steel Union pointed to a map and continued. Sure, this is a good place to put the 4 Dragon Palaces. The Lich King looked over and revealed a smile. Both of you go and get ready. We have to reach there 3 days in advance. Since the Dragon King dared to challenge the Iron and Steel Union, he should be quite capable. The leader of the Iron and Steel Union said plainly. All right. The Lich King and the rest nodded. This time, the 3 forces might not be able to crush the Dragon Palace easily. The strength of the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace and the defense of the Dragon Palace were terrifying. Therefore, even if the 3 forces were to join forces, they had to be fully prepared. Even a lion would give its all when fighting a rabbit. Days passed. 1 month and 2 months passed. The Dragon Palace shuttled across the chaotic continent without suffering any attacks. Some reckless wild beasts were easily killed by the disciples of the Dragon Palace. In the blink of an eye, 2 months had passed. Everything was peaceful. However, all the members of the Dragon Palace knew that the war was getting closer. The other forces also understood that this was the calm before the storm. There is no change in the route of the Dragon Palace. About 3 months later, a message was sent to the Lich Kingdom and the Wrapped Corpse tribe. At this moment, the 2 forces immediately took action. The hatred between the Lich Kingdom and the Dragon Palace was as deep as the ocean. This time, almost all the pinnacle experts had come. 70% of the experts from the remaining 9 main cities had come. Countless experts from the Wrapped Corpse tribe had also rushed to the sky. The Iron and Steel Union also began to move. Their target was the Nine Origins Pit. Chapter 33-39. 3 forces besiege Upper. The Liches were wreaking havoc in the sky above the desolate continent. They were gathered together above a black cloud. The Lich King, who was riding a sky-devouring centipede, flew menacingly in the direction of the Nine Essences Pit. A white cloth hung across the sky, covering half of the starry sky. Above the cloth, experts of the Wrapped Corpse clan stood there quietly, filled with a cold aura. The leader of the Shrouded Corpse clan held a pyramid-like acquired supreme treasure in his hand, slightly raising his wrapped head. In the sky above the Iron and Steel Union, terrifying warships took off one after another. Countless fighter aircrafts whizzed through the skies of the great desolate continent, their gigantic mechas glowing with light. In the center, on a spaceship that was tens of thousands of kilometers long, the leader of the Iron and Steel Union and the 28 generals of the Iron and Steel Union stood there with cold looks in their eyes. Behind them were a few thousand members of the Cursed Spirit Village. Their eyes were filled with coldness. At this moment, the 3 races moved out at the same time, with the same goal and the same direction. The 3 major races had mobilized all of their experts and weapons, and it was impossible to cover it up. They didn't plan to hide it at all. The Dragon Palace had penetrated deep into the chaotic continent. They couldn't escape. The Lich Kingdom's army is moving. There are at least millions of Lich Kingdom's experts on that black cloud. Are they going to fight against the Dragon Palace? The warship of the Iron and Steel Union is roaring in space. The Iron and Steel Union is moving. They should be ready to take action. Hiss, the Wrapped Corpse tribe has also moved. The Wrapped Corpse tribe has dispatched a large number of experts. As one of the top 3 powers in the chaotic wasteland continent, every move they made would cause a commotion among the other powers. When the Lich Kingdom began to move, there were people spreading speculations on the smart brain. When the Iron and Steel Union also moved, all the powerhouses could basically be sure. However, when someone revealed that the Shrouded Corpse tribe had also made a move, everyone was dumbfounded. What's going on? The Wrapped Corpse clan was also involved? Are the 3 races going to attack the Dragon Palace? It can't be, right? It's so terrifying. Hiss, is this real or fake? These are the 3 strongest powers of our great desolate continent. At this moment, the entire border of the primordial continent was in an uproar. Some people had already guessed that the Lich Kingdom's army would move out. However, the appearance of the Wrapped Corpse tribe surprised everyone. Incomparably shocking. As time passed, the factions at the border of the great desolate continent discovered to their shock that the 3 races were heading to the same place. This caused everyone to be in an uproar. The 3 strongest factions of the primordial continent had gone to attack the Dragon Palace. Dragon Palace was doomed. This was the first thought in everyone's mind. The Dragon Palace was doomed, 100% doomed. This was one of the top 3 powers in the great desolate continent. The three forces besieged the Dragon Palace together. Even if the Dragon Palace had a heaven-defying defense, the three forces could still suppress the Dragon Palace completely. On the other side of the continental encirclement starry sky, all the experts and disciples in the entire continental encirclement starry sky were also paying attention to the Dragon Palace's landing battle. When they received the news from the edge of the great desolate continent, their expressions changed drastically. Although the Dragon Palace was very powerful, it was completely defenseless under the siege and suppression of the three forces. As long as the members of Dragon Palace came out, they would be annihilated. In that case, the other party could completely suppress the Dragon Palace forever. This Dragon Palace was in danger. This was the opinion of all the forces in the continental starry sky. They didn't expect the Dragon Palace's landing battle to reach such a terrifying level. All the forces could not understand the hatred between the Wrapped Corpse tribe and the Dragon Palace. Dragon King, the Iron and Steel Union and the Lich Kingdom have made their move. However, we did not expect the Wrapped Corpse tribe to make their move too. At the same time, Prime Minister Turtle, who was in the Dragon Palace, reported the news to Wuxia immediately. The Wrapped Corpse tribe has made their move too? That's not surprising. I killed 2 rank 8 universe supremacies from the Wrapped Corpse tribe. Wuxia raised his eyebrows and said. Back then, in order to snatch the acquired treasure, he killed 2 Wrapped Corpse tribe experts. Rank 8 universe supremacies were the top and had the highest status in the Wrapped Corpse tribe. Now that he had killed 2 of them, it was normal for the other party to want revenge. The Light Clan and the 9 Candles Demon tribe sent us a message. They asked us to flee back to the continental starry sky and give up the landing battle. Prime Minister Turtle said with a smile. Oh, after all, they are the 3 strongest powers in the great desolate continent. Ah. Wuxia smiled with a cold look in his eyes. Get Tianjin and the rest to get ready and set up the array. Also, get Roving Crab, Yamada no Devil Fiend and the rest over. It's Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle immediately replied. Dragon King. Very quickly, Audiobook and 3 devouring dragons with level 9 venerable battle power flew over. Audiobook, get in line to bring you to the Shaman Kingdom's Shaman Demon City and the Wrapped Corpse tribe's lair. Leave 1 person and some subordinates at each place. Baki Demon Sha, bring the Venom Horn Dragon and follow. Infiltrate the Shaman Demon City and the Wrapped Corpse tribe's lair first and send a message to the Devouring Dragon. This time, I'm going to wipe out the entire Wrapped Corpse tribe of the Lich Nation in one fell swoop. Wuxia immediately instructed them with glistening eyes. It's Dragon King. Roving Crab, Yamada no Demon Fiend and the others nodded and immediately replied. 3 clans this time I will completely annihilate you. Wuxia's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Sending 2 rank 9 devouring dragons and Yamada no Demon Fiend and the rest to the Shaman Demon City and the Wrapped Corpse tribe's lair was not to launch an immediate attack. Instead he wanted them to wait. Wait for the order to attack. This time, the 3 clans had come to besiege the Dragon Palace. Wuxia was confident that he could defeat them completely. However, he was not confident that he could make all the experts stay. The Iron Tribe was still fine as they relied on technology. Without their own holy nations they could not escape directly. However, the experts from the Shaman Kingdom and the Wrapped Corpse tribe could escape to their own holy nations and their lair instantly. And this was the time for the devouring dragons to strike. Even if they escaped back, they would still be attacked by the devouring dragons. It was especially so when Yamada no Demon Fiend and the rest had figured out some of the trump cards of the 2 superpowers. It would be easier for them to strike if they worked together. He wanted to completely annihilate the 3 superpowers. As for the danger of sending 2 rank 9 venerable devouring dragons away, there was naturally no danger. Even if the 3 clans had supreme treasures that could unleash 2 to 3 rank 9 venerables, the 2 devouring dragons could return to the Dragon Palace instantly. Chapter 3340. 3 forces besieging below the 3 races flew towards the Dragon Palace at high speed. The Dragon Palace was also making preparations. Time passed day by day. Didn't the Dragon Palace receive the news of the 3 races besieging them? Why haven't they stopped? They haven't even changed their route? 2 days later, the experts realized that the Dragon Palace seemed to be unaware of the 3 races besieging them. They were still flying according to their usual route. This caused the experts of the various forces to be extremely shocked. How can they not know? Could it be that the Dragon Palace still has a trump card? What trump card? The only trump card they have against the 3 races is the defense of the Dragon Palace. If they really had a trump card, they would have destroyed the Lich Kingdom when the Lich Kingdom besieged the Dragon Palace. The Dragon King wouldn't have needed to launch a sneak attack. That's true. The Dragon Palace isn't even a match for the Lich Kingdom in a head-on fight, let alone the three forces. I reckon a single round of attacks from the three forces would be enough to destroy the Dragon Palace. The experts from the various forces were analyzing on the universe AI. The Dragon Palace seemed strong to everyone. However, this strength was only in comparison to the forces that besieged the continental starry sky and the ordinary forces in the chaotic continent. If they were to compare it to the Lich Kingdom, there would be a huge gap. Not to mention the Iron and Steel Union. Part of the Dragon Palace's strength came from its defense. If the Dragon Palace were to challenge other forces in this landing battle, it would be a piece of cake. However, they were besieged by the three forces. No one was optimistic about the Dragon Palace's chances. If you're courting death, I'll suppress you forever this time. Above the border of the chaotic continent, the Lich King's eyes were filled with murderous intent as he read the messages. The three forces were getting closer and closer to the pit of the 9 origins. The Dragon Palace was also getting closer and closer to the pit. The computing power of the Iron and Steel Union's AI calculated the route and progress of the Dragon Palace to the extent of hundreds of millions of kilometers. This could be said to be extremely terrifying. Dragon King, the three forces should be right ahead. They might be ambushing us. A day later, a gigantic crater appeared below the Dragon Palace while it was flying in the sky above the Dragon Palace. The pit seemed to be emitting deathly energy. Ambushing us? Wang Xian chuckled. With a swift move, he came to the front of the east gate of the Dragon Palace. At this moment, all the members of Dragon Palace had gathered at the east gate of Dragon Palace. Their eyes were filled with violent killing intent. Prepare for battle. Wang Xian squinted his eyes. As the Dragon Palace moved forward, figures began to appear on the screen in the detection of the Dragon Palace. The terrifying battleships, the powerful mechas, and the ghost-like battleships. In the center there was a huge warship. Figures could be seen standing on it. And on the left and right sides, on the black clouds, were the powerful disciples of the Lich Kingdom. The disciples of the Rapping Corpse clan on the white cloth. They floated in the air, waiting for the arrival of the Dragon Palace. Zzz. As the Dragon Palace approached, a terrifying lightning net appeared in the sky above the Dragon Palace. The dense lightning net gradually condensed into a huge lightning hammer. When the hammer of thunder and lightning fell, the entire Dragon Palace would be smashed into the deep pit below and then sealed and suppressed. Tsk, the Dragon Palace is really a coward. Since they want to be a coward, they shall hide here forever. The Lich King looked at the Dragon Palace that appeared in his sight with a sinister look in his eyes. Kill these guys from the Dragon Palace. On the battleship that was tens of thousands of kilometers away, the people from the Cursed Spirit Village looked at this scene with excitement and malevolence. They still dare not come out. It seems like we have overestimated the Dragon Palace. On the battleship that was tens of thousands of kilometers away, the leader of the Iron and Steel Union looked at the Dragon Palace that was about to be attacked with disdain. They had thought that the Dragon Palace would put up a fight. Little did they expect that they would still hide in the Dragon Palace. The Dragon Palace is their backing. Wouldn't they be courting death if they came out? The Dragon Palace isn't stupid. General Jean of the Iron and Steel Union said with a smile. In the sky, the lightning that had been prepared gradually condensed into a huge lightning hammer. The Dragon Palace continued to move forward at the same speed. They were getting closer and closer to the three major forces. At this distance, the members of the Dragon Palace could already see the experts from the three major forces clearly. In fact, the other party would already be within their attack range when they flew out. When the lightning hammer dissipates, it will be the time for the Dragon Palace to strike. Wang Xian lifted his head and ordered the lightning hammer that was about to fall. Yes. All the members of the Dragon Palace answered immediately. I'll block this lightning hammer. The Dragon Palace could withstand the attack of the lightning hammer. However, under the impact of the lightning hammer and the gravity, the Dragon Palace would fall. Roving Crab let out a deep roar. He transformed into the devouring dragon and swayed his huge body. Boom. At this moment, the thunder hammer descended from the sky, bringing with it the boundless power of thunder as it smashed towards the Dragon Palace. Once the Dragon Palace fell into the deep pit, the three major forces would suppress it immediately. It can't be over so soon. That would be too boring. The experts from the three major forces commented plainly when they saw this. Roar roar. However, in the Dragon Palace that they couldn't see, Roving Crab dashed towards the sky. He reached out his hideous claws and the defense of the Dragon Palace automatically opened up a hole. Roving Crab's dragon claws met the lightning hammer directly. When Roving Crab's dragon claws reached out, it immediately attracted the attention of the three major forces. They squinted their eyes and their eyes were glistening. Boom! The lightning hammer landed on Roving Crab's dragon claws and the horrifying lightning struck the dragon claws. However, Roving Crab's dragon claws were intertwined with black and gray energy. He clenched his claws together and slammed it forward. Bam! In the next moment, another collision sounded. This time, the lightning hammer that was formed by lightning flickered and was sent flying towards the sky. Indeed, the Dragon Palace isn't that simple. Did they rely on the special ability of the Dragon Palace to come here? The three major forces weren't too surprised to see the Dragon Palace withstanding their attack. Kill? At this moment, a terrifying murderous intent came from the Dragon Palace and a cold voice reverberated across the sky. Wang Xian took the lead and flew out of the east gate of the Dragon Palace. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. He locked his gaze on the group of figures on the huge battleship. The 5 elements grindstone floated above his head and the Tai Chi dragon plate rotated around him. Chapter 3341, Boom Boom Boom. Wang Xian dashed out of the Dragon Palace. His eyes lit up as he sensed the people from the Cursed Spirit Village. Perhaps it was because of the Iron and Steel Union's confidence, the members of the Cursed Spirit Village were all on the warship in front. There were no cursed beings in the other mechas. That's good. Kill. Wang Xian shook his body, unfolded his unbeginning saint wings, and flew towards the battleship ahead with an indomitable will. In the air, he transformed into his divine dragon form and stared coldly at all of them. On the left and right, Wuxia and another rank 9 venerable devouring dragons swayed their huge bodies as they charged forward. If you still dare to charge over, you're courting death. The eyes of the leader of the Iron and Steel Union and the generals were filled with coldness. Good. It would be boring if you guys kept hiding in the Dragon Palace. The Lich King and the chief of the Wrapped Corpse tribe were filled with terrifying killing intent. Get ready to kill everyone in Dragon Palace. Leave no one alive. They roared and gave the order to attack. Their eyes were filled with excitement. In the next moment, roars could be heard. All the shamans and disciples let out violent roars. The members of the Wrapped Corpse clan on the right were silent. Like ghosts, they dashed towards the Dragon Palace. Fire. So. As for the senior management of the Iron and Steel Union in the center, they lifted their heads slightly and stared at Wang Xian and the rest who were flying over. The corners of their lips curled up slightly as they spoke softly. With a command, countless energy laws condensed into cannonballs and blasted towards Wang Xian and the rest. The horrifying cannonballs engulfed Wang Xian and the rest. The might of this cannonball was enough to kill a rank 8 universe venerable. When Wang Xian sensed the attacks from the dense bombardment, his eyes narrowed. The Tai Chi dragon wheel around him rotated and formed a humongous Tai Chi diagram in the air. Boom boom boom. In the next moment, countless explosions rang out. All the cannonballs landed on the Tai Chi dragon plate and were all blocked. Seeing that the first round of cannonball attacks was completely blocked, the leader of the Iron and Steel Union narrowed his eyes slightly. What a powerful defensive treasure. A general narrowed his eyes and said, So. At this time, at the entrance of the Dragon Sect, Dragon Palace's first round of attack began. A group of arrow dragons held bows and arrows in their hands and shot out arrows. Their targets were the Wrapped Corpse race and the experts of the Lich Kingdom on the left and right. Among them, some of Mao Zissen's arrow dragons looked a bit strange. After the arrow was shot out, it condensed into the shape of a wind dragon. In the middle of the wind dragon there was a blurry figure. These arrows' attack power was around that of a level 5 venerable. It wasn't high but it wasn't low either. They were all locked onto the level 8 venerables of the Shaman country and Wrapped Corpse race. A small dragon palace dares to compete with the bright moon? The Lich King, Wrapped Corpse race and the rest of the rank 8 venerables were right at the front. Seeing these attacks, a cold glint flashed in their eyes. The heaven-devouring centipede that the Lich King was sitting on spat out black venomous needles. The surrounding Lich Kings waved their arms and swept at the arrows. On the other side, the Wrapped Corpse race expert's corpse cloth rolled up, and all the arrows were wrapped in it, instantly shattering. Kiki, it has begun. Mao Zissen and the rest smiled when they saw the arrows destroyed. Ao. The strange curse power came very quickly. The heaven-devouring centipede under the Lich King and the 3 rank 8 venerables beside him suddenly screamed in pain. On their bodies, strange dark tattoos appeared. Those dark tattoos invaded their bodies. Death instantly shrouded their hearts. What's going on? The Lich King felt the heaven-devouring centipede under him tremble violently, and his expression changed. Seeing its life force rapidly disappearing, his pupils constricted, and his face was filled with shock. On both sides, the corpses of the 3 rank 8 venerables fell to the ground. What's going on? A shocked and furious voice came from his mouth. What's going on? The clash had just started. How did 4 rank 8 venerables die so mysteriously? What's going on? Ah! At the side, the 2 rank 8 venerables from the wrapped corpse race screamed in pain. However, after they died, the experts of the wrapped corpse clan who were behind them suddenly died strangely. The dark tattoos descended on their shrouds and entered their bodies. This time, not only did they lose 2 rank 8 venerables from the wrapped corpse race, there were also tens of thousands of wrapped corpse race experts related to these 2 experts who died instantly. The strange way of death caused the wrapped corpse race and the Lich Kingdom to go into an uproar. This is the power of the curse. There are cursed beings among the Dragon Palace. In the middle, the leader of the Iron and Steel Union saw the deaths of the experts of the 2 races, and his expression changed. How could there be cursed beings in the Dragon Palace? Be careful, there are cursed beings hidden in those arrows. If you kill them, you will be attacked by the curse. General Jean of the Iron and Steel Union immediately reminded the Lich Kingdom and the wrapped corpse race. Be careful of the beings shrouded in dark tattoos. General Jean added. A cursed creature? When the Lich King and the rest heard this, their expressions turned ugly. Of course, they knew about the cursed beings and such beings must not be killed. No wonder the Dragon Palace dares to go against us. They have such a trump card. Be careful of those Dragon Palace members shrouded in dark tattoos. The Lich King warned loudly with a solemn expression. Yes. The rest of the experts from the Lich Kingdom responded, and their attacks became more cautious. Kill. Roar. At this time Aosier and the rest roared as they charged towards the Lich Kingdom and the wrapped corpse race. Aosier and the rest's massive bodies and towering aura locked onto the Lich King, the wrapped corpse race leader, and the rest of the experts. Kill. When the Lich King saw Aosier and the rest charging over, he scanned the surroundings. After confirming that there were no cursed dragons, he charged forward. Boom boom boom. However, just as they charged forward, Aosier and the other rank 9 devouring dragons suddenly unleashed their strongest attacks. Their terrifying claws tore through the void as they charged towards the group of rank 8 supremacies. This time, the Lich Kingdom had sent 11 rank 8 supremacies. After losing 3, there were only 8 left. The 8 rank 8 Lich Sovereigns were no match for Aosier. Chapter 3342. Invincible Defense. Terrifying devouring dragon middle. It was the same over at the wrapped corpse tribe. This time, the wrapped corpse race had 15 universe venerables that came. 2 had died, but there were still 13. However, when the 2 devouring dragons unleashed their full power, the Lich King, chief of the wrapped corpse tribe, and the others were instantly dumbfounded. What was going on? How could their auras be so terrifying? Roar and the rest roared, their dragon claws slashing forward. Not good. Dragon Palace has rank 9 supremacies. At this moment, the Lich Kingdom and wrapped corpse tribe experts could not help but roar, their bodies trembling. Dragon Palace actually had rank 9 supremacies. How was this possible? A year ago, the Lich Kingdom had attacked Dragon Palace, and Dragon Palace did not resist at all. If Dragon Palace had such power, the Lich Kingdom would have been destroyed long ago. Yet now Dragon Palace had suddenly unleashed such terrifying power. 2 9th level Venerable Realm experts. This Roar and the rest suddenly unleashed rank 9 supremacies, catching the Lich Kingdom and wrapped corpse tribe off guard. Even the eyes of the Lich King and the others turned red in an instant. Their expressions changed drastically when they saw the dragon claws coming at them. Dodge. The Lich King roared, hurriedly dodging to the side. Ah! However, within the Lich Kingdom, the 3 rank 8 supremacies, experts in arrays, screamed in pain. When they flew over, their bodies were already shrouded in powerful defensive shields. However, they did not expect Dragon Palace to have rank 9 supremacies. The 3 Liches, experts in arrays, died instantly. At the same time, Aosier and the others charged towards the remaining experts and disciples of the Shaman Kingdom behind them with their auras. Just the 3 of you want to destroy our Dragon Palace? Roving Crab let out a wild roar, and its enormous dragon tail swept toward them with heavy earth and darkness elemental energies. Not good. Dodge, dodge. When the millions of Lich Kingdom's disciples saw this terrifying dragon tail, their faces were filled with fear. This time, with the three great forces joining hands, just the number of Universe Venerable level powerhouses sent by the Lich Kingdom and the Wrapped Corpse tribe reached more than 700,000. More than 700,000, and the Iron and Steel Union could not be calculated in terms of numbers. The strength of the three great powers was enough to sweep through more than half of the border of the Great Desolate Continent. However, there was still a huge gap between the 700,000 over Universe Venerables and a rank 9 Universe Venerable powerhouse and the million Universe Venerables of the Dragon Palace. Especially Aocia's strength. A level 9 Universe Venerable was enough to make them pay a heavy price. Roar roar roar, kill kill kill. Aocia and the other devouring dragon wreaked havoc, locking down all the level 8 and 7 Venerables from the Lich Country and the Wrapped Corpse clan. They were all enveloped by the attacks of Aocia and the others. At this moment, the Berserk Dragon species, Imperial Dragon species, Heaven Lightning Earth and Fire Dragon species, and Heaven Lightning Earth and Fire Dragon species had already rushed forward. Behind him, the Arrow Dragons, the Succubus Dragons, and the Witch Dragon launched their long-range attacks. Without the obstruction of the pinnacle battle power, the few level 8 and 7 Venerables of the Dragon Palace wreaked havoc. Aochi and the rest rushed forward, their bodies emitting a violent aura. No Lich or Wrapped Corpse clan could stop them. Not good. Iron and Steel Union leader request for reinforcements. Dragon Palace has a level 9 Venerable. The Lich King and the rest roared with bloodshot eyes. At this moment they felt a chill in their hearts. They had never expected Dragon Palace's strength to be so terrifying. If they had known, they would not have come to attack Dragon Palace even if they were beaten to death. They could already foresee that even if they managed to escape this time, they would suffer the revenge of the Dragon Palace. When that time came, the Wrapped Corpse tribe of the Sorcerer Kingdom would have to flee. Damn it, why does Dragon Palace have such a strong existence? The Iron and Steel Union leader and the group of generals had a huge change in expression, their eyes filled with fear. Cursed Spirit Village members, immediately enter the armors, and attack the 2 level 9 Venerables of the Dragon Palace. The Iron and Steel Union leader ordered loudly, his face extremely dark. Yes. At the back, all the members of the Cursed Spirit Village looked terrible. They had never expected Dragon Palace to be so terrifying. This time they were besieged by 3 major forces. Yet, they were suppressed by the other party in an instant. Don't worry. I'll play with you guys. Wang Xian stared at them with a violent look in his eyes. He roared and 8 divine dragon avatars appeared around him, attacking the various warships, mechas and spaceships ahead. Bomb. One of the generals flew into the sky and covered him with his mecha. All sorts of attacks rained down on Wang Xian. Boom boom boom. Countless attacks landed on the 8 divine dragon clones, and those divine dragon clones slowly crumbled. Boom boom boom. But at this moment Wang Xian had already rushed over. His massive body reached out with his dragon claws, grabbing at the warships and mechas. In an instant, sparks flew as battleships, mechas and spaceships plummeted to the ground. Self-destruct the mechas and kill this Dragon King. The Iron and Steel Union leader roared coldly. At this moment, their bodies were shrouded in golden metal and were over 100 meters in size. Although they weren't huge in size, the intricate weapons on them were emitting terrifying golden radiance. Swish swish swish. Under his command, hundreds of self-destructing mechas charged towards Wang Xian. These self-destructing mechas were enough to turn a rank 8 Universe Venerable into ashes. Bam bam bam. Seeing the self-destructing mechas, Wang Xian waved his dragon claws, and the 5 elements grindstone appeared above his head. On the 5 elements grindstone, 5 divine dragons stuck their heads out and spat out attacks. Boom boom boom. The attacks landed on the self-destructing mechas, causing them to explode instantly. The horrifying shockwaves of the explosion swept across the surroundings. Wang Xian didn't retreat at all. Instead he flew forward. His target was the battleship that was over 10,000 kilometers away. Damn it! This Dragon King has so many supreme treasures on him. The Iron and Steel Union leader ordered coldly. Swish swish swish. At this moment the 28 generals rose into the sky. They were covered with special mechas and weapons as they charged towards Wang Xian. The alliance of the 28 generals was enough to fight against a rank 9 Universe Venerable. Wang Xian squinted his eyes. At the position of his dragon horns, an ancient oil lamp appeared. Kill? Wang Xian was fearless as he charged over. Chapter 33-43, Terrifying Devouring Dragon with Invincible Defense Collapse. Dragon King of Annihilation, this reckless guy. Attack. 28 generals of the Iron and Steel Union were wearing battle armor. Terrifying attacks began to accumulate in the bullet holes. They locked onto Wang Xian, who was attacking the battleships, and launched their attacks. Swish swish swish. In the next instant, the attacks from the 28 generals engulfed Wang Xian completely. Wang Xian seemed to not see the attacks as he flew towards the battleships and spaceships. Rumble, rumble, rumble. In the next instant, all sorts of horrifying attacks landed on the sky above him. The entire void underwent a horrifying change. Wang Xian's surroundings had turned into a dead zone. Many battleships and spaceships of the Iron and Steel Union were affected by the shockwaves and collapsed immediately. Is he dead? All the generals of the Iron and Steel Union stared at him with glistening eyes. The Dragon King was strong, but the 28 of them could fight against a rank 9 universe supremacy if they joined forces. Even a rank 9 universe supremacy would have a hard time withstanding their bombardment head-on. What? Damn it! Is the defensive treasure on the Dragon King an inborn spiritual treasure? But very soon, the generals of the Iron and Steel Union showed embarrassed expressions. Roar, roar, roar. In the next instant, a humongous divine dragon flew out from the center of the explosion and attacked the surrounding battleships and spaceships. On his body, the Tai Chi dragon board that had collapsed was gradually recovering. Around him, a red glow shrouded him. Wang Xian smiled faintly. After the attacks from the 28 generals had destroyed the defense of the Tai Chi dragon board, only 1/3 of the remaining attacks were left. This attack was easily blocked by the ancient oil lamp on his body. Very effortless. Wang Xian didn't suffer any injuries. Die. He swayed his humongous body and clawed at the battleships and mechas with his dragon claws. Bam bam bam. The horrifying destructive power and near-invincible defense made Wang Xian invincible. All sorts of battleships and mechas were destroyed by him. They turned into flames and fell to the ground. Are they moving? At this moment, Wang Xian sensed the mechas flying towards his left and right. Their eyes were locked on Aosia and the rest. Diske. Wang Xian moved. He flapped his unbeginning sacred wings and charged towards them. Oh no. Leader, help us block this Dragon King. The group of experts from the Cursed Spirit Village who were wearing mechas was appalled when they saw Wang Xian charging towards them. They shouted immediately. The leader of the Iron and Steel Union looked at this scene with a gloomy expression. He moved and his golden body directly landed in the center of the warship that was tens of thousands of kilometers in size. Below him, a throne appeared and he landed directly on it. On the throne there was a red launcher. The leader of the Iron and Steel Union placed his palm on the red launcher. After layers of identity scanning, the red launcher rose. At this moment, on this incomparably huge battleship, a cannon hole that was tens of thousands of meters wide appeared. The pitch-black cannon seemed to want to destroy everything in front of it. The cannon had locked onto Wang Xian and was accumulating terrifying energy. When Wang Xian was locked on by the terrifying cannon, his expression changed slightly. Leader of the Cursed Dragons, go and deal with the Cursed Spirit Village. Wang Xian immediately transmitted his voice to the direction of the Dragon Palace. In order to defend against the Cursed Spirit Village, the Dragon Palace had created a new type of dragon, the Cursed Dragons. Among the Cursed Dragons, the strongest had already reached the rank 6 universe supremacy level. They, together with the large amount of treasures they had, were sufficient to deal with the people from the Cursed Spirit Village. Moreover, the strongest among the mechas that charged out was only a rank 6 universe supremacy. Now that the Cursed Spirit Village had completely submitted to the Iron and Steel Union, the Iron and Steel Union would not let them send themselves to death with rank 7 or rank 8 universe supremacy armors. Yes, Dragon King. Within the Dragon Palace, the leader of the Cursed Dragons and the rest dashed over immediately. Swoosh. After Wang Xian gave the order, Wang Xian flapped his unbeginning sacred wings and charged towards the location of the terrifying cannon hole at a terrifying speed. The Tai Chi dragon plate floated around him and was shrouded in a red glow. Wang Xian squinted his eyes slightly and checked the energy within the ancient oil lamp. He revealed a tyrannical smile. The energy within the ancient oil lamp was sufficient to withstand powerful attacks for him. Moreover, Wang Xian did not believe that this attack from the Iron and Steel Union could possess the destructive power of a peak universe supremacy. Die, damn Dragon King! The leader of the Iron and Steel Union bellowed furiously. The horrifying energy beam that he had accumulated charged towards Wang Xian. Boom! At this instant, it was as though the entire sky had turned into a dazzling day. Boom! The horrifying energy charged towards Wang Xian. Wang Xian opened his mouth and formed layers of powerful defense in front of him. However, the defense that he released was instantly destroyed and continued to charge towards him. The attack landed on the Tai Chi Dragon Plate. The defense of the Tai Chi Dragon Plate gradually collapsed and continued to fall on the radiance shield of the ancient oil lamp. Wang Xian was surrounded by a bright red glow. The vitality fluid within the ancient oil lamp was being depleted rapidly. However, this horrifying attack was completely withstood. Wang Xian revealed a smile. He just needed to resist for a while more and everything would be over. Just as he was entangled with the experts from the Iron and Steel Union, screams could be heard from both sides. Wuxia and the other two devouring dragons with rank 9 universe supremacy combat power had completely suppressed the experts from the Wrapped Corpse tribe of the Shaman country. Next was the stage for the experts from the Dragon Palace. Although the combined strength of the experts from the Dragon Palace was much lesser than the two major tribes, the Dragon Palace had Enlai. Enlai was currently a rank 5 universe supremacy. Now that he had various treasures on him, there was a 50% chance that he could kill a rank 6 universe supremacy instantly. He shuttled between the supremacies from the Shaman country and the Wrapped Corpse tribe at a strange speed. The moment he appeared, a rank 4 or 5 universe supremacy was killed. Given Enlai's strange and horrifying speed, he could kill dozens of universe supremacies in a second. This could be said to be a very horrifying number. Since the start of the war, the number of universe supremacies that had died in his hands had already reached tens of thousands. For a moment, the two major forces were on tenterhooks. They were afraid that this strange figure would appear beside them. This was like being chosen by the Grim Reaper. Who wouldn't be afraid? Under such circumstances, the arrow dragon of the Dragon Palace, the strange succubus dragon, the tens of thousands of rank 4 universe supremacy witch dragon, and the terrifying long-range attacks made the experts from the Shaman country and the Wrapped Corpse tribe tremble in fear. Chapter 3344. Annihilating the three great forces on, "Oh no, Lich King, we are not a match for the Dragon Palace. There are too many mysterious experts among them. Chief, we can't hold on anymore. We can't hold on anymore. The Dragon Palace is too terrifying." At this moment, the disciples of the Lich Kingdom and Wrapped Corpse tribe shouted in fear. The battle had been going on for 5 minutes. Within these 5 minutes, many of their companions were killed. Many disciples were dying every second. They were afraid that they would be the next ones to die. Damn it. The Iron and Steel Union can't even deal with a Dragon King. How are we going to fight? The Lich King and the leader of the Wrapped Corpse tribe trembled violently. They roared with extremely ugly expressions. They relied on the treasures in their hands to barely contend against the devouring dragon that was a rank 9 venerable. Even so, it wouldn't take long for them to be defeated. However, they had been waiting for reinforcements from the Iron and Steel Union. Until now, they hadn't even gotten rid of a Dragon King. This made them feel slightly fearful. They were aware of the strength of the Iron and Steel Union. Yet, the Dragon King had yet to be annihilated. The strength of the Dragon King was definitely not simple. Listening to the screams of their subordinates, their expressions changed constantly. If this continued, all of them would die here. Run now. Run back to your own holy kingdom. The Lich King gritted his teeth and ordered loudly. Defeated. They were utterly defeated. Now that the Dragon Palace had 2 universe venerables at the level 9, they could not win this battle. It was impossible to annihilate the Dragon Palace. Moreover, the members of the Dragon Palace had also unleashed terrifying and mysterious attacks. They weren't a match for the Dragon Palace at all. Run. Forget about the consequences, it was fine as long as they could escape now. Run. Upon hearing the Lich King's order, all the experts and disciples of the Lich Kingdom heaved a sigh of relief and immediately shouted. Kill, don't let them escape so easily. At the forefront, the berserk dragons raged ahead while the experts and disciples of the Lich Kingdom fled back to their own holy kingdoms. With every minute that passed, tens of thousands of experts and disciples of the Lich Kingdom would die. Disciples of the Wrapped Corpse tribe, flee immediately. On the other side, the leader of the Wrapped Corpse tribe heard the Lich King's order and swept his gaze across the battlefield. He gritted his teeth and ordered. The Lich Kingdom had escaped, but if they hadn't, their losses would have been even greater. Flee. Immediately, the experts of the Wrapped Corpse race fled back to their own divine kingdoms. Haha, if you want to escape, at least half of you have to stay here. Wuxia and the rest roared and attacked even more ferociously. The faces of the Lich King and the Shrouded Corpse tribe leaders sank when they saw this. Instantly escaping back to his Cosmos God nation also required some time to prepare. Especially in this kind of battlefield where all kinds of energy were wreaking havoc, it was very easy to be interrupted. If a portion of the disciples managed to escape, the other portion would have to suffer double the attacks. Under such circumstances, at least 1/3 of the disciples would have to stay here forever. However, there was nothing they could do about it. What? Even that didn't break his defense? At the same time, on the huge warship in the center, the leader of the Iron and Steel Union stared ahead. He stared at the Dragon King, who was engulfed by the energy of the battleship. However, when he saw the figure of the Dragon King appear, his face changed drastically. This time they didn't pay too much attention to the Dragon Palace. With the three factions working together, the Dragon Palace would not have any resistance. However, now he knew that he was gravely mistaken. Just the Dragon King in front of them was already a huge problem for the Iron and Steel Union. At this moment they saw the experts of the Lich Kingdom and the Wrapped Corpse race escaping, and their faces changed. The Lich Kingdom and the Wrapped Corpse race actually escaped, damn it. The Iron and Steel Union leaders' face changed slightly. They could not be like the Lich Kingdom and the Wrapped Corpse race, escaping directly to their own divine kingdoms. They had already fused with the machines, and if they wanted to escape they could only fly. Once the two races escaped, the Iron and Steel Union would have to face the two rank 9 supremacies of the Dragon Palace directly. This time, the strongest attack they had sent out was only the strategic warship. There were even more offensive weapons, but they were in the base and could not be moved. I'm afraid we're in big trouble. The Iron and Steel Union leader muttered, his face changing constantly. Roar, 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 die. At this time, over at the Lich Kingdom's side, the Lich King's figure flickered, strangely leaving the battlefield hundreds of millions of kilometers away. Aosier ignored the Lich King, and charged towards the rest of the rank 8 supremacies from the Lich Kingdom. No, no, no. Run, run. Screams could be heard. Without the Lich King, the rest of the rank 8 supremacies could not contend against Aosier. They hurriedly escaped. However, it was impossible for all of them to escape. Instantly, for rank 8 supremacies were swept away by Aosier's claws. The terrifying attack killed them instantly. Other than that, none of the rank 7 supremacies managed to escape. All of them were easily killed by Aosier. On the other side, the Wrapped Corpse race was the same. To escape from the Devouring Dragon's attack, they had to pay a heavy price. This price was the lives of a few rank 8 supremacies, as well as a group of rank 7 supremacies. When the Lich King and the rest escaped, Aosier and the rest swept their gazes, turning towards the Iron and Steel Union. Kill. With a loud roar, Aosier and the other Devouring Dragon flew towards Wuxia. There was no need for them to annihilate the Lich Kingdom and the Wrapped Corpse race, as there was another wave of attack waiting for them. Shit. At this moment, all the experts and disciples of the Iron and Steel Union saw Aosier and the rest flying over, their faces changed, and their eyes were filled with fear. The 28 generals looked grim, and immediately unleashed a barrage of attacks towards Aosier and the rest. However, facing the barrage of attacks, Aosier and the rest waved their ferocious dragon claws, welcoming the attacks. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Explosions rang out. The 28 generals posed no threat to Aosier and the others. Annihilate the Iron and Steel Union, leave no one alive. Wang Xian's eerie voice reverberated across the starry sky. This time, the first to be annihilated was the Iron and Steel Union. With the speed of rank 9 supremacies, he wanted to see where they could escape to. Annihilate the Dragon Palace? Suppress the Dragon Palace? Let's see who will be annihilated. Chapter 3345. Annihilating 3 major forces in Roar Roar. The divine dragon swayed and let out a series of roars. Woo woo woo. In the sky, Xiaolin also let out a terrifying roar that reverberated across the sky. Wang Xian stared coldly at everyone from the Iron and Steel Union. At the side, Aosier and the other devouring dragons swayed their huge bodies and attacked the battleships that spanned over 10,000 kilometers. Shit. The leader of the Iron and Steel Union saw this and his heart skipped a beat. Kaka. He moved his arm and pressed the red button in front of him. The cannons were aimed at Wang Xian and Aosier with an awful expression. Go to hell. He pressed the attack button continuously and terrifying energy began to gather again. Aosier and the other devouring dragon looked over with disdain in their eyes. They lifted their heads and spat out dark quicksand from their mouths. The dark quicksand was directed at the incoming attack. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Terrifying collisions resounded and the light beam was obliterated by the dark quicksand. However, there was still a stream of dark quicksand that continued to attack the battleship that spanned over 10,000 meters. Block. The leader of the Iron and Steel Union shouted immediately. Block. The attack that the battleship he was on had unleashed was comparable to a rank 9 universe supremacy. However, this battleship did not mean that it could go against a rank 9 universe supremacy. Every attack of this level required energy to be charged, not to mention the difference in mobility. The combined attack of 2 rank 9 universe supremacies could easily destroy the attack of the battleship. Block. The 28 generals looked at the dark quicksand and roared with a grim expression. Cursed Spirit Village, attack the 2 guys from Dragon Palace. Hurry. General Jean looked to the side and shouted sternly. Now they could only rely on the people of the Cursed Spirit Village to perish together with the 2 experts from Dragon Palace. General Jean, we are trapped. There are also cursed living beings in Dragon Palace. Their strength is terrifying. The chief of the Cursed Spirit Village bellowed with a hideous look. He was piloting a rank 6 venerable mech, facing the pitch-black cursed dragon in front of him. His expression was unusually ugly. This was the first time he had seen a cursed creature with such great power. To them this was simply unbelievable. Damn it. When General Jean heard this, his face was filled with rage. At the same time, his heart was filled with fear. The Cursed Spirit Village had been suppressed and even killed by the Dragon Palace's cursed creatures. Now they were facing the powerful defense of the Dragon King and the 2 level 9 supremacies from the Dragon Palace. How to fight? How to fight? They were no match for him at all. Boom, boom, boom. At this time, the sound of the surrounding battleships exploding could be heard. One by one, the battleships fell to the ground. Retreat. All disciples of the Iron and Steel Union, retreat immediately. On the warship, the leader of the Iron and Steel Union stood up and ordered loudly with a gloomy face. Retreat. Failed. The siege of the Dragon Palace was a complete failure. The experts and disciples of the Shaman Kingdom and the Wrapped Corpse tribe either fled or were killed. If they continued to fight, the Iron and Steel Union would be completely finished. The order to retreat was still a disaster for the Iron and Steel Union. This was because they had to fly if they wanted to escape. Swish, swish, swish. Fortunately, their orders were well executed. When the Iron and Steel Union gave the order to retreat, all the battleships and spaceships were prepared to leave the battlefield. Boom, boom, boom. The 10,000-meter battleship also let out a unique roar as it charged up energy and began to move at full speed. Trying to escape? Is that possible? This time, even if I have to chase to the base of the Iron and Steel Union, I will annihilate all of you. Wang Xian's eyes were filled with violent, murderous intent. Chase. Don't let any of them off. He immediately ordered loudly. Arrow Dragon Species, Mystic Dragon Species, Witch Dragon Species, Starwood Dragon Species, board Xiaolan's body immediately in chase. Prime Minister Turtle immediately ordered from the back. Yes. A group of dragons that specialized in long-range attacks and containment immediately flew to the body of Xiaolan's body. They stood above the body of Xiaolan's body and continued to launch long-range attacks. Bam bam bam. A series of attacks were launched and various explosions were heard. The battleships fell. Audiobook and the rest swayed their huge bodies and flew towards the battleship in the middle. Intercept. The leader of the Iron and Steel Union bellowed. 28 generals immediately released various attacks towards Audiobook and the rest. At the same time, the 10,000-kilometer-long battleship was densely packed with cannon holes. Attacks of various attributes were launched towards the rear to prevent Audiobook and the rest from charging over. Many battleships and mecha were also hovering above the main battleship. As they retreated, they launched fierce attacks at Audiobook and the rest. The dense attacks were indeed useful as they greatly interfered with Audiobook and the rest. Audiobook and the rest swept their dragon tails and a dragon tail condensed from the laws attacked the largest battleship. Boom boom boom. In the next instant, countless cannonballs were launched towards their dragon tails. The sounds of collisions were incessant. Leader, we don't have enough energy to support us back to the City of Steel. A general came to the leader of the Iron and Steel Union and bellowed with an awful expression. The expression of the leader of the Iron and Steel Union kept changing constantly. The experts of the Dragon Palace were chasing and suppressing them with massive cannonballs. They could only last for a few days at most. But after a few days, when the cannonballs were depleted, it would be time for the experts of the Dragon Palace to wreak havoc on them. By then they wouldn't be able to resist. Hold on for as long as you can. Get ready to abandon the battleship and escape. The leader of the Iron and Steel Union said with a gloomy expression, as long as we return to the City of Steel, the Dragon Palace won't be able to do anything to us. Yes. The general's expression changed as he replied solemnly. The tides of the battle had turned. Initially they thought that the Dragon Palace was holding up in the Dragon Palace. Unexpectedly they were fleeing back to the base and holding up in the base. Given the defense of the Iron and Steel Union's base, two universe supremacies wouldn't be able to breach it. However, they could be said to have suffered a crushing defeat in this battle. In the future they wouldn't have a good time after offending the Dragon Palace. Above the vast primordial continent, the battleship of the Iron and Steel Union was resisting while escaping. Countless battleships, spaceships and mechas accompanied them, exploding from time to time as they plummeted. Behind them, the experts of the Dragon Palace were in hot pursuit. Chapter 3346. The Dragon Palace had landed on chaotic continent. The Lich Kingdom had teamed up with the Wrapped Corpse tribe and the Iron and Steel Union to besiege the Dragon Palace. This had become the focus of all the forces at the border of chaotic continent and the continental starry sky. However, no one dared to come and watch the battle between the four forces. It was too vast and too terrifying. Only on the AI, countless people were discussing. 2 hours after the battle broke out, the AI guessed that the battle might have ended. Some guessed that the Dragon Palace had been completely suppressed. Some guessed that the Dragon Palace had been breached and massacred. Some guessed that the Dragon Palace had escaped. There were all kinds of guesses and discussions. However, no one thought that the Dragon Palace was a match for the three forces. The reason for this was because the three great forces were too powerful. The strength that the Dragon Palace had displayed was weaker than any of the three forces. How could they fight against the three forces with such strength? However, in the third hour of the discussion, something that shocked everyone happened. The Phoenix Mark tribe was a force at the border of chaotic continent. They were not far from the Nine Origins pit, just a few hours away. More than 10 hours ago, the warship of the Iron and Steel Union had flown over their territory. However, at this moment, the tribe sounded an alert, and a defensive fire shield enveloped the tribe's lair. The sound of an explosion came from the front. What happened? The disciples of the Phoenix Mark tribe flew up into the sky. At this moment, they saw the warships of the Iron and Steel Union flying away at a terrifying speed. Behind them, the warships fell, emitting sparks. The terrifyingly powerful divine dragons swayed their huge bodies as they attacked from behind. When the warriors of the Phoenix Mark clan saw this, they dropped their jaws, their faces disbelieving. What's going on? The warships of the Iron and Steel Union are fleeing, and the divine dragons are chasing after them? Look at those two dragons. Their auras are so terrifying. Are they experts with the combat power of a rank 9 venerable? The Dragon Palace is chasing after the warships of the Iron and Steel Union. The Dragon Palace is chasing after them. The Phoenix Mark tribe members exclaimed in shock. They watched dumbfounded as the Iron and Steel Union fled into the distance. Behind them, the experts of Dragon Palace continued their pursuit. Along the way, all kinds of fighter jets and spaceships crashed. Not long after, they saw 4 huge Dragon Palaces following closely behind them, collecting some of the fallen mechas and battleships. The members of the Phoenix Mark clan gawked in shock. Very quickly, this information reached the universe AI. Not only were there oral messages, but there were also videos and images. When the experts and disciples from the peripheral forces and races of the continent encircling starry sky and heaven-opening desolate continent saw this result, their faces were filled with disbelief. This is incredible. The Dragon Palace is chasing the Iron and Steel Union. Doesn't it mean that the Dragon Palace has won this battle? 3 forces besieged the Dragon Palace, but ended up being hunted down by the Dragon Palace. If it wasn't for the video, I wouldn't have believed it. How could the Dragon Palace have such terrifying strength? The Dragon Palace actually has a rank 9 universe venerable. A year ago the Dragon Palace couldn't do anything to the Lich Kingdom. Now, a year later they are chasing after the Iron and Steel Union. How did they improve so fast? Countless experts and disciples were in an uproar as they discussed among themselves. No one had expected this outcome. No one had expected the 3 forces to lose. No one had expected the Iron and Steel Union to be destroyed and chased by the Dragon Palace. The Dragon Palace was too terrifying. Even the Iron and Steel Union was being chased. What about the Lich Kingdom and the Wrapped Corpse tribe? Did they escape? Or were they annihilated? On the AI, all the creatures were guessing. The Battle of the Dragon Palace had shocked all the forces. 2 rank 9 universe venerables. Damn it. How could the Dragon Palace have such experts? This doesn't make sense. At the same time, in the Lich Kingdom's Lich City, the Lich King came to the throne in the main hall after escaping back to his own kingdom. One by one, the experts of the Lich Kingdom who had escaped also rushed over. They saw the information on the Universe AI and their faces were ugly. The Lich King's breathing was rapid. 2 rank 9 Universe Venerables were enough to annihilate the Lich Kingdom. Even if they managed to escape this time, they would face the revenge of the Dragon Palace in the future. What could they use to resist? What was even more inconceivable was how did the Dragon Palace suddenly have 2 rank 9 Universe Venerables? A year ago they had even besieged the Dragon Palace. If the Dragon Palace had such experts then, the Lich Kingdom would have been finished. They did not then. 2 rank 9 Universe Venerables in a year, how could they believe it? How many casualties did we suffer this time? The Lich King asked with a dark face. Reporting to Lord Lich King. Only 5 rank 8 Universe Venerables returned. About 40 rank 7 Universe Venerables perished. A third of the remaining experts and disciples were either injured or killed. That's close to 2 million. A Lich reported in a deep voice. Lord Lich King, now what do we do? Once the Dragon Palace experts attack, we won't be able to resist. A Lich said with a dark face. Now that they were enemies with the Dragon Palace, once the Dragon Palace experts attacked, the Lich Kingdom would not be able to resist. Now they had to find a way out for themselves. The Lich King's face kept changing as he heard his subordinate's words. Who? He took in a deep breath, his eyes showing a hint of helplessness. Let's discuss and find a place to hide. Now they could only find a secluded place to hide. They were like stray dogs. In the main hall, the group of Lich Kingdom experts fell silent, then started to discuss. Among the group of Lich Kingdom experts, a rank 7 Universe Venerable's eyes shone brightly, quietly waiting for the best opportunity. Gather all the remaining elite disciples in the cities, get them to rush over immediately. Half an hour later, the Lich King gave an order. Next, they had to start their escape plan. Find a secluded place to hide. Once the order was given, the elites from the other 8 cities of the Lich Kingdom quickly gathered. At this moment, in a corner of the Lich City, a figure was observing everything, his face revealing a smile. They could attack soon. Those who offend the Dragon Palace die. Chapter 3347. None can escape on Lich King. All the experts and elite disciples from the 8 cities are here. In the Lich City of the Lich Kingdom, there were still 9 cities remaining after Wuxia destroyed 3. Under the command of the Lich King, all the elite experts gathered in the Lich City. At this moment, there were more than 10 million Liches gathered in front of the Lich City in Blessed Land. The Liches in various forms exuded a strong murderous aura. However, there was a trace of fear in their eyes at this moment. The Lich Kingdom, Wrapped Corpse Tribe and Iron Union had joined forces to attack the Dragon Palace but were defeated. They had already received the news. It was especially so after knowing that the Dragon Palace had rank 9 Universe Venerables. They knew that the Lich Kingdom was completely defeated. They also knew that the Lich King had gathered them here to escape. As for where they were escaping to, they had no idea. Swish swish swish. At this moment they saw the experts of the Lich Kingdom flying over. Their hearts sank when they saw the experts beside the Lich King. In the past, the Lich Kingdom had more than a dozen rank 8 Universe Venerables. However, there were only 5 of them now. This was a huge blow to the Lich Kingdom. All members of the Lich Kingdom, listen up. We have encountered an unprecedentedly strong enemy. Next, we have to avoid being hunted by them. I have already found our hiding place. All disciples follow behind. The Lich King hovered in front and was no longer as high-spirited as before. He stood there with a gloomy face and spoke in a deep voice. Yes, Lich King. The disciples of the Lich Kingdom replied with a heavy heart. Get ready, let's go. The Lich King's voice was once again transmitted into the minds of all his subordinates. Rumble. However, at this moment, a terrifyingly huge dragon claw suddenly attacked the Lich King and the Lich powerhouses around him. What? At this moment, the cells in the Lich King's body exploded. The eyes on the Devil Dragon's head widened and were filled with disbelief and horror. He quickly turned around and a huge shield appeared in front of him. Rumble. A terrifying sound was heard, accompanied by a horrifying dark quicksand that shrouded the surroundings. Not good, an expert is attacking. This is the terrifying existence of the Dragon Palace. Why are they here? At this moment, everyone in the Lich Kingdom widened their eyes in fear. Especially the Lich King and the other 4 rank 8 universe supremacies that were enveloped by the devouring dragon. They were filled with fear. Why was that terrifying devouring dragon in their shaman city? How was this possible? However, facing the sudden attack of a Type 9 Venerable, under that terrifying energy attack, they let out a final roar of resistance. Bam! However, under the attack of the devouring dragon, even though the Lich King used his postnatal treasure to block it, he was still heavily injured. The other 4 rank 8 venerables were in an even worse state. They were directly killed. Around them, the terrifying black quicksand covered hundreds of millions of kilometers. In front of them there were many elite disciples of the Lich Kingdom. Because of the Lich King's summons, they all gathered together. Under such circumstances, many of them had no time to escape. Especially the Universe Venerable level 7 and below, with their speed, how could they dodge the attacks of a Universe Venerable level 9? Ah! As the black quicksand rushed over, countless liches screamed in pain. Against such a terrifying attack they could not block it at all. No, no, no! The Lich King saw this, his face filled with despair as he roared, Why did you suddenly come to our shaman city? Why? You want to destroy our dragon palace? Die. The devouring dragon's eyes were filled with malevolence as it attacked the Lich King with its claws. The Lich King, who was already heavily injured, saw this attack and his face turned pale. A shadow of a demonic dragon bloomed above his dragon head and blocked the attack of the devouring dragon. Boom! A terrifying collision sound resounded as the Lich King's body sank tens of thousands of meters into the ground. Ichem? The devouring dragon looked at him in shock, surprised that he was still alive. Kikik, leave it to me. At this moment, a black shadow instantly attacked the Lich King. In an instant, the black shadow entered the Lich King's body. The heavily injured Lich King's body trembled violently as his pupils turned pitch black, gradually giving up on defending. Upon seeing this, the devouring dragon lifted its head and scanned its surroundings. It swayed its huge body and charged towards the surrounding liches. Boom! The terrifying dragon tail, the violent attack, instantly turned the place into a lich hell. Run, run, our shaman kingdom is going to be destroyed. Lord Lich King is killed, run, run, run. Desperate cries resounded throughout the entire shaman city as the liches fled in fear. They widened their bloodshot eyes as they tried to escape. Boom, boom, boom. However, against the Universe Venerable level 9 devouring dragon's rampage and the terrifying attacks, a large number of liches were killed. Out of 10,000 it would be lucky if one could escape. The difference was too huge. In less than 5 minutes, the entire shaman city was in a state of apocalypse. The devouring dragon wreaked havoc and massacred. The destruction of the shaman city also meant the complete annihilation of the shaman kingdom. However, at this moment it wasn't just the shaman kingdom. Far away in the Shrouded Corpse Race's territory, the Shrouded Corpse Race's lair was located in a desert. Huge pyramids were erected on the ground. However, at this moment, a terrifying devouring dragon caused a pyramid to collapse with one claw. Countless Shrouded Corpse Race's disciples fled in fear. Suddenly, the surrounding sand rose into the air, condensed into a huge divine dragon, and attacked the surrounding Shrouded Corpse Race disciples. The sky was filled with golden sand as endless terror descended upon the Shrouded Corpse Race. Screams could be heard incessantly. The leader of the Shrouded Corpse Race looked at this scene in despair as his body trembled violently. No, no, no. Dragon Palace, you will all die a horrible death. They let out miserable screams of despair as they cursed helplessly. The devouring dragon that had been hiding in the two great forces in advance had completely become the two great forces' nightmare. Those who wanted to destroy the Dragon Palace couldn't escape. On this day the Shaman Kingdom was destroyed. The Shrouded Corpse Race was destroyed. The Iron and Steel Union was still fleeing. Chapter 33-48. Rumble, Rumble, Rumble. The annihilation of the Shaman Kingdom and the Shrouded Corpse tribe had yet to be known by the other forces. As for the Iron and Steel Union, the huge battleships were fleeing above the chaotic continent. The explosions from time to time caused tremors in the surroundings. They flew over the various forces and caused a huge commotion. More and more videos of the Iron and Steel Union's pathetic escape. Everyone was shocked and appalled when they saw the information on the artificial intelligence. Wang Xian chased from behind and locked his cold eyes on them. He wanted to see how long the Iron and Steel Union could last. The chase continued and time passed little by little. At this time, Wang Xian received a message from Orochi and the other two Devourer Dragons. When he saw this message he smiled. The Shaman Kingdom and the Shrouded Corpse tribe had been annihilated. Only a few experts had escaped. Tianjin, get Enlai to bring you and Witch Dragon to the Shrouded Corpse tribe in the Shaman Kingdom. Find all the treasures and heavenly nations. In addition, Enlai, bring the two Devourer Dragons over. Wang Xian ordered through telepathy immediately. Yes, Dragon King. Tianzhen and Lai and the rest answered immediately. The Shaman Kingdom and the Shrouded Corpse tribe had been annihilated. The resources and treasures of these two major tribes were terrifying. This time Wang Xian should have enough resources for a breakthrough. The Iron and Steel Union is still flying towards their base without giving up. They should be relying on the defense of the base. As the strongest force at the edge of the prehistoric continent, they should be able to resist the attack of a rank 9 venerable, maybe even 1 or 2. In this case, I can't let the other 2 Devourer dragons take action to prevent them from escaping. Let's wait for the Iron and Steel Union's base. Wang Xian pondered as he watched the Iron and Steel Union fleeing desperately. As the days passed, a large number of spaceships, battleships and mechas were destroyed by Wang Xian and Wuxia. The number of battleships of the Iron and Steel Union was decreasing and their attack power was getting weaker. On the 4th day, Wang Xian saw a spaceship flying towards the main battleship of the Iron and Steel Union. The speed of these spaceships was terrifying, comparable to the top speed of a rank 8 universe supremacy. Some members of the Iron and Steel Union entered the spaceship and evacuated quickly. Dragon King, their firepower is running low. We will be able to destroy that huge battleship very soon. Roving Crab transmitted his voice to Wang Xian from the side. Wang Xian squinted his eyes and said, "The other party might give up on this battleship. Let's ignore everything else and chase after them." The Divine Dragon roared. "Damn Dragon Palace! If you dare to come to the base of our Iron and Steel Union, I'll make you suffer." A day later, on the main battleship of the Iron and Steel Union, the leader of the Iron and Steel Union stared at the group of divine dragons with hatred in his eyes. "Leader, all the energy is going to run out soon. Let's retreat quickly." A general said to the leader of the Iron and Steel Union. "Go." The leader of the Iron and Steel Union gritted his teeth and roared in a low voice. Boom, boom, boom. They moved and flew forward quickly. Behind them, all the spaceships and battleships seemed to have entered a berserk mode. Not only did they stop flying, but they also charged towards Wang Xian and the rest. This included the terrifying warship that was tens of thousands of kilometers long. It contained a terrifying might and released all sorts of terrifying energy attacks. The leader of the Iron and Steel Union has escaped and destroyed all these warships. Wang Xian scanned the area before him as he ordered Wuxia and the rest. Wuxia and the rest roared as they resisted the attacks of these battleships before they were destroyed. Within a radius of more than 1 billion kilometers, all sorts of horrifying attacks covered the area. Even Wuxia and the rest could not get rid of them immediately. After holding Wang Xian and the rest back for an hour, many battleships and spaceships were turned into ruins. "Let's go. Hurry over immediately. We can't let them know about the annihilation of the Sorcerer Kingdom and the Wrapped Corpse tribe. Once they know, they will be on their guard." The wreckage of the spaceships would be handled by the members of the Dragon Palace behind. Wang Xian stared ahead and ordered immediately. "Whoa, whoa." Xiaolan roared as Wang Xian and the rest continued flying in the direction of the Iron and Steel Union. The Iron and Steel Union delayed Wang Xian and the rest for an hour with their battleships and spaceships. However, Wang Xian and the rest were faster than the other party. Although they could not catch up with the other party within a short period of time, they could close in quickly. The speed of both parties was extremely horrifying. That damn Dragon Palace. Damn Dragon King. How dare they continue to chase after us? At the front, the leader of the Iron and Steel Union and a group of generals saw that Wang Xian and the rest were still chasing after them through some detection means. Cold, murderous intent flashed in their eyes. It won't be long before they reach the base of the Iron and Steel Union. By then we will let them know our firepower. A general said with a gloomy face. Activate the SSS grade defense system of the base. Activate the SSS grade attack system of the base. Prepare the anti-air firepower. Data flashed in the eyes of the leader of the Iron and Steel Union as he issued remote orders with a cold face. Boom, boom, boom. As they flew towards the base, the entire base of the Iron and Steel Union let out a roar. Various machines protruded from the terrifying black cannon holes. Various energy weapons began to charge. In the middle of the huge building, there was a black cannon hole that spanned over 1,000 kilometers. This cannon hole was connected to the depths of the ground. Palpitating energy began to spread to the surroundings. Apart from this cannon hole, there was also something that looked like a golden sawtooth that was slowly drilling out from the ground. The entire sawtooth was over 10,000 kilometers in size. It stood motionless between the heavens and the earth like a sleeping tiger. Swish, swish, swish. At this time, in the base of the Iron and Steel Union, a large number of battleships, spaceships, and mechas flew to the sky. When the weapons of the entire Iron and Steel Union moved, all the people of the Iron and Steel Union also entered the battle state. Compared to the forces of the Iron and Steel Union, the forces left in the base were stronger and more horrifying. There were more than 1 billion sets of various armors, densely covering the entire sky. The power of science fiction looked equally magnificent from afar. Although the Iron and Steel Union has lost this time, it's wishful thinking to destroy us. The Iron and Steel Union has stood in the chaotic continent for so long. How can we be destroyed so easily? When the leader of the Iron and Steel Union saw that all the war weapons in the base had been activated, his eyes were filled with coldness. Any force that wants to destroy us will have to pay a heavy price. The same goes for the Dragon Palace. Apex. Chapter 3349. Any forces that wish to annihilate us will have to pay a heavy price. Same goes for the Dragon Palace. Swish swish swish. The leader and generals of the Iron and Steel Union were flying towards them rapidly. Their eyes were filled with coldness. We're in our territory. The group of generals looked at the rising battleships, the billions of warships, and the densely packed cannon holes. Their eyes were filled with menace. All disciples of the Iron and Steel Union, prepare for battle. Let's make sure the enemy doesn't return. A general roared with a violent look. This was their base, and it had been built into an impenetrable fortress. Anyone who entered the base of the Iron and Steel Union would be subjected to horrifying attacks. Swish swish swish. The leader of the Iron and Steel Union and the 28 generals immediately came to the front of the powerful battleships and weapons. They looked towards the rear with murderous intent. The horrifying golden sawtooth that stood in the base of the Iron and Steel Union. The terrifying cannon holes in the center of the Iron and Steel Union. All kinds of horrifying weapons were aimed at the rear, waiting for the arrival of the experts from the Dragon Palace. Dragon King, the territory of the Iron and Steel Union, is in front. The sky above their base is filled with countless battleships and weapons. Enlai's figure appeared beside Wang Xian and reported. The Iron and Steel Union had been fleeing towards their base. They must have the confidence to withstand the attack of 2 rank 9 devouring dragons. Therefore Wang Xian ordered Enlai to investigate in advance. Are they ready to welcome us? It seems like they have the strength to fight against Aosia and the rest. Wang Xian's eyes flickered and revealed a menacing look. Attack and destroy the Iron and Steel Union. Wang Xian bellowed. Roar, 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 roar. Roar after roar came from the left and right. At the rear, Xiaolan accompanied them. Above them, the dragons of the Dragon Palace that were good at long-range attacks were following. In the middle, 2 devouring dragons in human form stood there quietly, waiting for orders. We're here. 10 minutes later, a magnificent and vast territory filled with technology appeared in their sight. However, at this moment, the sky above this magnificent technological territory was densely packed with warships. A menacing aura rushed over. They're here. Everyone in the Iron and Steel Union was also staring at the flying divine dragon. Dragon King of Dragon Palace, get out of the territory of our Iron and Steel Union. Our grievances will end here, and we will never invade each other in the future. The voice of the leader of the Iron and Steel Union spread to the front. He looked at the majestic divine dragon with a gloomy face. Now that the Dragon Palace had shown such a powerful strength, the Iron and Steel Union no longer wanted to be their mortal enemy. Hee. When Wang Xian heard the voice from the base of the Iron and Steel Union, his eyes were filled with mockery. When you want to attack our Dragon Palace, attack us. When you want to reconcile, reconcile with us. How can there be such a good thing in the world? Today our Dragon Palace will turn your Iron and Steel Union into ruins. Wang Xian bellowed coldly. You don't know what's good for you. Attack and destroy those guys from Dragon Palace. The leader of the Iron and Steel Union roared furiously. Bus. So. In the next moment, countless mecha battleships let out a deafening roar. Densely packed attacks that covered the sky shrouded Wang Xian and the rest. You think you can destroy us with just 2 rank 9 venerables? Wishful thinking. The leader of the Iron and Steel Union snorted coldly. He squinted his eyes as he stood in front of the huge cannon hole. Bus. The fearsome energy in the cannon hole began to condense. A warhead that was like a missile was launched towards Aosia. In front, the sawtooth-like golden weapon began to spin and attacked another rank 9 devouring dragon. The horrifying attack engulfed Wang Xian and the rest in an instant. Wang Xian let out a deep roar as he swayed his huge body. With a wave of his dragon claws, the Tai Chi dragon wheel shrouded the area. Aosier and the others moved and directly faced the terrifying bullets and golden sawtooth that made their hearts palpitate. Kill. On the body of Xiaolan, the two devouring dragons also moved instantly. They faced the dense attacks and flew towards the mecha battleships above the base of the Iron and Steel Union. Boom boom boom. Soon, the sounds of explosions reverberated. The details of the various cannonballs and the horrifying attacks plunged the front into a gray world where nothing could be seen. Swish swish swish. At this moment, two figures dashed out of the gray world of cannon fire and continued to fly towards the sky above the Iron and Steel Union. The generals of the Iron and Steel Union were slightly shocked when the two figures dashed over. Lock onto the two guys from the Dragon Palace and annihilate them. Immediately, a general ordered loudly and launched several attacks at the same time. However, at the moment when they launched their attacks, the two devouring dragons let out a violent roar. They instantly transformed into a huge body of 100,000 meters and released a ferocious and terrifying aura towards the surroundings. They opened their mouths and a dark quicksand shrouded in front of them. Boom boom boom. In an instant, the cannon fire that attacked them was shattered. Countless quicksand landed on the battleships and mechas and exploded. The attack of the two devouring dragons instantly caused tens of millions of battleships and mechas to crumble. This sudden scene stunned everyone in the Iron and Steel Union. What? How is this possible? Aren't the two rank 9 universe supremacies pinned down by the Dragon Palace members? A general looked over with a drastic change in his expression as he roared. However, what awaited them was the attack of the two devouring dragons once again. Swish swish swish. Boom boom boom. They swayed their huge bodies and charged directly into the battleships and mechas. As they waved their 18 dragon claws, the horrifying dark claws covered an area of 100 million square meters. The dragon tail swept across, causing the battleships and mechas to explode instantly and plummet to the ground. Wreaking havoc, completely wreaking havoc. How is this possible? The Dragon Palace actually hit a rank 9 universe supremacy. The leader of the Iron and Steel Union exclaimed in disbelief and anger. His blood-red eyes stared at the two devouring dragons that had charged into the sky. Just now their attacks had completely locked onto Roving Crab and Wang Xian. However, he did not expect the Dragon Palace to have another rank 9 universe supremacy. They have been hiding their strength. They want to annihilate us completely. Damn it. The leader of the Iron and Steel Union trembled violently. He quickly adjusted the cannons beside him and attacked the devouring dragons that had charged in. Top. Chapter 3350. At the edge of the continent, the Dragon Palace reigns supreme on Swish. A horrifying bullet was launched at the two devouring dragons. One of the devouring dragons looked over and suddenly opened its gigantic mouth. A black hole-like energy swallowed the bullet. With a shake of his body, several devouring dragons formed from the earth element surrounded the black hole and attacked the warhead. The other devouring dragon continued to attack the surrounding mecha warships and spaceships. Each attack destroyed a large number of mecha warships and spaceships, causing them to fall to the ground. Roar. Do you think you can annihilate the Dragon Palace with your strength? At this moment, Roving Crab blocked the horrifying bullet. However, the follow-up attack did not come. He moved and charged into the sky above the Iron and Steel Union. He opened his mouth and devil flames rained down. Boom. The horrifying devil flames destroyed a large number of weapons. Swish. At this moment, Wang Xian made use of his strong defense and speed to escape from the flames of war. He fixed his eyes on a general from the Iron and Steel Union and flapped his unbeginning saint wings. Swish. He pushed his speed to the limit and attacked that general directly. Attack him. That general sensed Wang Xian's attack and roared. Wang Xian was shrouded in a dense barrage of bullets. A Taiji diagram appeared around him and Wang Xian passed through the barrage of bullets. Oh no, he's too fast. That general was horrified when he saw that all the attacks were ineffective against Wang Xian and his horrifying speed. Die. Wang Xian came to the front of that general and waved his dragon claws. Boom. Boom. That general fired waves of horrifying energy, but it had no effect on the dragon claws. The dragon claws fell and that general fell into Wang Xian's dragon claws. Boom. An explosion sounded from his dragon claws as Wang Xian scanned the surroundings coldly. Oh no. That Dragon King is also horrifying. We are no match for him. A general is dead. A general was killed by Wuxia. The surrounding people were filled with fear and trepidation. This was a general of their iron and steel union, an almost immortal existence. Warning, warning, the enemy is too strong, the base cannot resist, the base cannot resist. At this time, in the cockpits of the huge battleships, the voice of the AI sounded in the minds of the generals. Hearing this voice, everyone in the Iron and Steel Union turned pale. Damn it, how can the Dragon Palace have 4 rank 9 venerable realm powerhouses? How is this possible? The leader of the Iron and Steel Union roared unwillingly. Leader were no match for them. Activate absolute defense. A general roared ferociously when he saw all the experts from Dragon Palace rushing into their base. Activate absolute defense. The leader of the Iron and Steel Union roared and gave the order. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, a light barrier rose around him and shrouded him in all directions. All disciples of the Iron and Steel Union, retreat to the core circle. Bombard the experts of Dragon Palace. The group of generals immediately ordered loudly. Boom, boom, boom. One by one, the self-destructing mechas charged towards Wuxia and Audiobook with no regard for their lives. The sound of explosions continued. The light barrier shrouded them and formed a golden defensive space. This golden radiance wasn't the power of technology, but the defense of the grotto heaven and blessed land in their base. Boss, help me destroy this golden sawtooth first. At this time, the devouring dragon, which had been facing the golden sawtooth, roared at Audiobook and the rest. The golden sawtooth was extremely powerful. As it spun continuously, it seemed to have intelligence. The terrifying golden sawtooth sliced through all the energy. Even the devouring dragon, a universe venerable rank 9, had to avoid it. This was the strongest offensive weapon of the Iron and Steel Union. They were built with the metals produced in a grotto heaven and blessed land and the AI. Although the attack power was singular and couldn't destroy a rank 9 venerable realm powerhouse. Even a rank 9 venerable realm powerhouse would have a headache if he was entangled. Suppress this golden sawtooth. Roving Crab roared and turned around to attack the golden sawtooth. Only a level 9 universe supremacy, the devouring dragon, accompanied Wuxia. He stared at the shield in front and waved his dragon claws. Boom, boom, boom. Waves of terrifying attacks landed on the shield, but the entire shield didn't budge an inch. This made the devouring dragon frown slightly. Dragon King, the defense of this shield is really terrifying. He immediately transmitted a message. Shield. Hehe. Wuxia smiled faintly and didn't mind as he looked to the side. Boom, boom, boom. The golden sawtooth was spinning slower and slower under the attacks of Audiobook and the other 2 devouring dragons. Oh no, the sky sawtooth is about to be suppressed. Within the shield of the Iron and Steel Union, a group of generals saw the sky sawtooth being suppressed by Audiobook and the other 3 and were embarrassed. The sky sawtooth could be said to be the biggest trump card of the Iron and Steel Union. Now, it was about to be suppressed by the Dragon Palace. The Dragon Palace is too strong. Fortunately, we still have the defense of the grotto heaven. Cold sweat trickled down the forehead of a general as he spoke with an embarrassed look. 4 rank 9 venerables were no longer something that the Iron and Steel Union could handle. The leader of the Iron and Steel Union stood in the middle as his expression changed constantly. Look at the intelligence system. It has sent news that the Lich Kingdom and the Wrapped Corpse tribe have been annihilated. Completely annihilated. At this time, a general exclaimed. What? Everyone in the surroundings was slightly shocked. It should be the work of the 2 rank 9 venerables from the Dragon Palace. When we were about to besiege the Dragon Palace, they were already prepared to annihilate us. The group of generals shuddered as their expressions darkened. When they were about to annihilate the Dragon Palace was also preparing to annihilate them. The sky sawtooth has been stopped by them. Phew, the Dragon Palace is too strong. At this time, a general looked to the front. The energy of the sky sawtooth was almost depleted. Fortunately, our grotto heaven is strong enough to have a terrifying defensive shield. At this moment, all the disciples and higher-ups of the Iron and Steel Union felt lucky. Beep, beep, beep. Enemy invasion. Enemy invasion. At this time, an unusually urgent voice suddenly resounded throughout the space. Behind half of the Iron and Steel Union's base, figures slowly appeared. Chapter 3351. Enemy invasion? How could there be an enemy invasion? How is this possible? Our grotto heaven and blessed land has a strong defense. How could it be invaded? When the voice of the artificial intelligence was heard, All the experts and disciples of the Iron and Steel Union looked around in shock. The defense of the Grotto Heaven and Blessed Land was their last shelter. If it was invaded, the consequences would be unimaginable. The leader of the Iron and Steel Union and over 20 generals were also scanning the area in shock. At this moment, a series of roars came from behind them. A massive dragon might rush towards them. What? At this moment, all the high-level disciples of the Iron and Steel Union trembled violently as they looked behind them. When they saw the Dragon King and the 4 devouring dragons, their eyes widened. How is this possible? How did they get in here? How is this possible? An incredulous voice came from the mouth of a general. This was their last line of defense. Kill. Today will be the end of the Iron and Steel Union. Wang Xian stared ahead with a violent aura in his eyes. He swayed his huge dragon body and waved his dragon claws. All sorts of 5 elements energy weapons on the 5 elements grindstone smashed forward. Horrifying ice arrows, blazing suns, pagodas that emitted flames, fans that stirred up hurricanes, all sorts of elemental laws and energies wreaked havoc in the surroundings. Die. Roving Crab and the rest roared out. Moving their bodies, they charged towards the center. Their eyes were locked on the leader of the Iron and Steel Union and the generals. Huff huff huff. Resist. Even if we die, we won't let them have it easy. The leader of the Iron and Steel Union was breathing heavily. His eyes were filled with despair and madness. He roared crazily. The body of the golden battleship shone brightly. Rays of sharp golden radiance met the attacks of Wuxia and the rest. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Sounds of collision rang out. However, the combined strength of the Iron and Steel Union could only match 2 to 3 rank 9 universe supremacies. Now that the sky-sawing tooth was suppressed, their resistance was greatly reduced. Moreover, within the defense of the Grotto Heaven and Blessed Land, they couldn't defend against the 4 devouring dragons. Roar, roar, roar. Streaks of terrifying dark quicksand swept downwards in an earth-shattering manner. Bam, bam, bam. A large number of mecha battleships and battleships crumbled and plummeted downwards. There were more than 1 billion mechas and spaceships in the Iron and Steel Union. Now that they were hiding in this defense, they could only launch attacks from the front. Their attacks did not have much effect on Wang Xian and Roving Crab. With each attack, tens of millions of mecha battleships were shot down. The area below was instantly turned into a vast sea of fire. Kill, kill, kill. The eyes of the generals of the Iron and Steel Union were bloodshot as they roared. They activated the mecha on their bodies and launched a barrage of attacks at Roving Crab and Wang Xian. The Tai Chi dragon wheel circled around Wang Xian. In an instant, he came to the side of a general and waved his dragon claws. Bam! The terrifying attack instantly caused sparks to fly all over his body as he fell heavily to the ground. At this moment, more than 12 generals charged towards Wang Xian. Wang Xian let out a soft snort and retreated rapidly. At this moment, 2 devouring dragons appeared on the left and right of Wang Xian and charged towards the 12 generals. Ark! They let out a final roar as they saw the devouring dragons charging towards them. Boom, boom, boom. Soon, sounds of explosions and collapses were heard. It's over. It's all over. With more than 12 generals killed, the rest of the Iron and Steel Union were on the verge of collapsing. They looked at this scene in despair. This was not just a failure. They were going to be annihilated. From today onwards, there would probably be no Iron and Steel Union in the universe. In the following battles, the Iron and Steel Union had no strength to resist at all. Against the 4 devouring dragons of the Dragon Palace, the Iron and Steel Union perished rapidly. Even the leader of the Iron and Steel Union could only watch them perish helplessly. The battles and annihilations continued. And on the Universe AI, everyone was discussing and paying attention to this battle. It was especially so when the news of the annihilation of the Lich Kingdom and the Wrapped Corpse tribe spread. The entire Universe AI at the edge of the chaotic continent and the starry sky were discussing in shock. They were discussing the strength of the Dragon Palace and how strong it was. The Lich Kingdom and the Wrapped Corpse tribe had fled to their own territories after their defeat. Under such circumstances, they were annihilated so quickly. The Dragon Palace was too terrifying. The Dragon Palace should have made preparations to annihilate the 2 major tribes. They have already set up terrifying forces around their lair. I have a brother from the Lich Kingdom who escaped, said that they were attacked by a rank 9 universe venerable. When they were about to escape, all their experts were annihilated. The ones who entered the lair of the Wrapped Corpse tribe and annihilated them must be rank 9 universe venerables. The Dragon Palace actually showed 4 rank 9 universe venerables. This strength is too terrifying. I wonder what's the situation at the Iron and Steel Union? Will the Iron and Steel Union be annihilated? On the Universe AI, from the beginning, all the forces and experts thought that the Dragon Palace would be suppressed. Now, the two major forces were annihilated. Now, all the forces and experts were discussing whether the Iron and Steel Union would be annihilated. Everyone was shocked by the strength that the Dragon Palace had displayed. This strength was already an invincible existence at the edge of the continent. At the edge of the heaven-opening continent, rank 8 Universe Venerables were the peak. The Iron and Steel Union was slightly more unique due to technological reasons. However, they could not reach the level of rank 9 Universe Venerables. Now that the Dragon Palace had just landed from the starry sky, they were invincible. This left the forces of the heaven-opening continent in a daze. The strength of the Dragon Palace was too strong. There were hundreds of thousands of forces at the edge of the heaven-opening continent. All of them were waiting for the outcome of this battle. Rumble. An hour later, within the defense of the Iron and Steel Union, the final rumble ended. The entire world seemed to have calmed down instantly. Dragon King, it's all settled. Roving Crab grabbed the head of the Iron and Steel Union leader with his dragon claws and said with a smile, "Very good. Settle it and search for the treasures of the Iron and Steel Union. In addition, send the Heavenly Array over to prevent these guys from cloning and escaping. Curse them directly." Wang Xian looked around and revealed a faint smile. The three major forces were annihilated. Chapter 3352. With the three major forces destroyed, it was time for the Dragon Palace to reap the rewards. The treasures of the Wrapped Corpse tribe and the Iron and Steel Union were being collected. Most of the treasures had been collected. Now it was the Iron and Steel Union's turn. As the strongest Iron and Steel Union in the chaotic continent, they had been standing on this land for a long time. The treasures that they possessed would definitely reach an extremely terrifying level. Search for the treasures of the Iron and Steel Union. Wang Xian instructed Aoxia and the rest before turning into a human and flying downwards. Although the area below was in ruins, there were still many buildings that were intact. Especially those underground base buildings. These metals can increase the devouring dragon's strength by quite a bit. Wang Xian scanned the surroundings and said with a smile, "Bam." He landed on the ground and scanned the surroundings with his dragon eyes. Sensing the source of the massive energy, he moved and immediately came to an entrance. "Please proceed with the inspection." The voice of the artificial intelligence system was heard. Wang Xian waved his arm and destroyed it. Below them was a huge underground palace. The entire palace did not have the same technological feel as above. Instead, it was filled with the aura of nature. Trees and flowers of the universe supremacy level grew. There was also a man-made river that contained massive amounts of spiritual energy. The entire palace was made of green bricks and magnetic tiles. It was exceptionally beautiful. This should be the place where the higher-ups of the Iron and Steel Union live. Wang Xian scanned the surroundings and his eyes shone. The surrounding trees and flowers were all of Universe Supremacy Level 5. Such a place was absolutely horrifying. Even the Dragon Palace did not have so many divine trees and herbs. Some of the trees even had some fruits that were emitting dense spiritual energy. As the Iron and Steel Union was developing technology, the use of the divine herbs in the Holy Kingdom might not even be comparable to the massive divine stones. This had also resulted in such a luxurious place to live. The entire palace occupied an area of about 100 kilometers. Although it was not very big, it was very beautiful. Wang Xian flew in the sky and could see the various general residences. There were 28 general residences and the leader residence was located in the middle. Wang Xian came to the sky above the leader residence. The leader residence was located on top of the blessed grotto heaven. This blessed grotto heaven only had one effect. It could produce a powerful protective shield. Wang Xian landed in the leader residence and scanned the blessed grotto heaven in the backyard. There was a robot standing there motionlessly. Clearly, it was the one controlling the barrier. Wang Xian studied it for a moment. A gust of energy covered the grotto heaven and paradise. In an instant, the defensive barrier outside slowly disappeared. This defensive barrier can withstand the destructive power of a pinnacle universe supremacy. Without an lie, it would be impossible to destroy the Iron and Steel Union. Wang Xian mumbled to himself as he swept his dragon eyes across. Here. With a sway of his body, he arrived at a palace in the center of the leader's residence. This palace was emitting all sorts of powerful abilities. When he arrived at the palace, his eyes were filled with excitement. On the four walls of the palace, there were many treasures in crystal boxes. At a glance, there were more than 40 acquired supreme treasures. This was a postnatal treasure. Even a level 8 or 9 universe venerable would go all out to fight for such a treasure. Apart from these acquired treasures, there were also other kinds of mystical treasures. This is. Wang Xian looked around and kept the acquired treasures. His eyes fell on the centermost area. There was a piece of metal there, a silvery white metal that kept squirming in the crystal box. Wang Xian could sense the mystical energy coming from it. What treasure is this? It's definitely extraordinary to be placed in the center. He mumbled to himself. Without studying it in detail, he kept all the treasures into his pocket. A large number of elixir pills should have been obtained from killing other experts. There were also various other treasures. Just these treasures from the Iron and Steel Union were enough to make Wang Xian achieve a breakthrough in his strength. Dragon King, Dragon Palace has arrived. Prime Minister Turtle's voice sounded while Wang Xian was searching. Wang Xian looked up to the sky. Dragon Palace had arrived. Collect all the treasures from the Iron and Steel Union. In addition, announce that the 3 major forces have been annihilated by Dragon Palace. Wang Xian replied immediately. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle replied immediately. Swish. He moved and entered the residences of the other generals to search for various treasures. This is a huge hall. Dragon Palace's strength will increase tremendously. Wang Xian mumbled to himself. Dragon Palace now had 1,000,000 universe supremacies. After this battle, it would increase by at least 800,000 or even 1,000,000. After all, these were all the resources of the 3 strongest forces at the edge of Chaotic Continent. Boom. When Prime Minister Turtle made the announcement in the name of Dragon Palace, all the forces and experts who were paying attention to this war were in an uproar. The Iron and Steel Union has also been annihilated. It's unprecedented to annihilate 3 major forces at once. Just as expected, the Iron and Steel Union couldn't withstand the attack of Dragon Palace. The 3 major forces have been established here for billions of years. The Dragon Palace is too ferocious. With such terrifying strength, they could even enter the depths of the heaven-opening Chaotic Continent, let alone land on land. After this battle, Dragon Palace will be the king at the edge of Chaotic Continent. Be it the forces surrounding the continent or the forces at the edge of Chaotic Continent, all of them were shocked. Dragon Palace will be the king at the edge of the continent. No experts from any forces dared to object to this statement. The Dragon Palace was built on the basis of their formidable strength and terrifying battle records. Once they landed, they were invincible. Some forces surrounding the continent were already considering whether they should pay a visit to Dragon Palace after it was completely stabilized. To curry favor. This battle had attracted everyone's attention. For a long time to come, they might be discussing this matter. Just as the AI was in an uproar, Wang Xian and the rest had emptied the entire Iron and Steel Union. Except for the grotto heavens that could not be taken away, everything else was taken away. All of the palaces were taken away as well. Their target was the Revival Grotto Heaven in the corner of the sea. The grotto heavens occupied by the Wrapped Corpse tribe and the Iron and Steel Union were very powerful. But the most suitable for Dragon Palace was still the Revival Grotto Heaven in the corner of the sea. That was the largest ocean in Chaotic Continent and more suitable for the future development of Dragon Palace. But this time, Dragon Palace will have to settle down and stabilize. Wang Xian murmured, thinking about the future development of Dragon Palace. Chapter 3353. Rumble, Rumble. Above the rebirth cave at the corner of the sea, the Dragon Palace slowly descended into the sea and stood above the cave. A white light shrouded the Dragon Palace slowly. Hovering above the Dragon Palace, Wang Xian and the experts of the Dragon Palace scanned their surroundings with a faint smile. Now, the Dragon Palace had truly established itself in the Chaotic Continent. As the energy from the blessed cave entered the Dragon Palace, all the disciples of the Dragon Palace could feel their recovery speed improving tremendously. All disciples of the Dragon Palace, improve your strength for now and cultivate diligently. When your strength is improved, explore the surrounding sea regions. Wang Xian's voice was heard by every disciple of the Dragon Palace. Yes, Dragon King. All the members of the Dragon Palace answered immediately. There were less than 2,000,000 disciples in the Dragon Palace now. The resources this time were enough for all the members to step into the universe supremacy realm. Roving Crab and the rest of the leaders of the Dragon Palace should also improve. Prime Minister Turtle, Place all the treasures in the Dragon King Hall and arrange for the disciples to improve. Wang Xian swept his gaze across the surroundings and said with a smile, "Yes, Dragon King." The group of leaders answered immediately. Wang Xian moved and came to the Dragon King Hall. Soon, a large number of treasures were placed in the center of the Dragon King Hall. These treasures were all obtained from the Wrapped Corpse tribe in the Witch Kingdom. In the center there was a huge head of the Devil Dragon. That was the head of the Lich King. The Lich King had obtained the head of a Devil Dragon by chance and transferred it to his own head. There were all kinds of elixir pills, divine herbs and divine wood. The harvest of treasures this time was terrifying. The countless experts of the three major races, the accumulation of their god kingdoms, and the treasures they had stored were mostly obtained by the Dragon Palace. One could imagine how huge the number was. This time, it's easy for me to improve and the 5 elements grind can also improve. Wang Xian looked at the large number of treasures and murmured. He hesitated for a while and decided to improve first before checking out the treasures here. He moved and immediately transformed into his divine dragon body. With a wave of his arm, the 5 elements grind appeared beside him. The 5 elements grind began to devour the acquired treasures one by one. Roar roar. Wang Xian let out a low roar and all the elixir pills around him flew into his mouth. As soon as the pill entered his mouth, it turned into dense dragon energy. He stayed in the Dragon King Hall below and quickly improved. Ka. Horrifying dragon energy began to rise from Wang Xian's body. On his dragon scales, the silhouettes of divine dragons flickered. Buzz. Ding. Congratulations to the host for leveling up and breaking through to the Third Order Universe Venerable. Ding. Congratulations to the host for breaking through. You have comprehended the law of Dharma form. Towering dragon horn. 2 days later, the voice of the system sounded. Wang Xian's aura had also reached its peak. 8 dazzling lights filled the entire Dragon King Palace. Wang Xian opened his eyes slowly and breathed out an 8-colored mass of air from his mouth. He revealed a faint smile on his face. Name: Wang Xian. Race: Yin Yang 5 Elements Dragon, one with the dragon. Level: Universe Venerable Level 3, Divine Dragon Transformation 9th Transformation. Origin: 1%, 99% required for next breakthrough. Magic: Dominate the aquatic creatures. Dominate any aquatic creatures lower than your own level. Devour living things to extract the source. Cultivation Technique: Divine Dragon Transformation Magic. Soul Assimilation Spiritual Attachment Magic. Dragon Eye Lock 5 Elements. Dragon Claw Yin Yang World Breaker, 8 Luminaries Dragon Scale, Saint Dragon Dragon Shadow, 8 Divisions of the Heavenly Dragon, Dragon Tomb, Soaring Cloud Dragon, True Dragon Body Law of Dharma Form, 8 Direction Dragon Pillar, 8 Dragon Clone, Towering Dragon Horn Mastery of Laws. Metal, Wood, Water, Fire, Earth, Light, Dark, Wind God Nation. Dragon Palace Possession of Dragon Palace. Acquired Dragon Palace Members. 1934450 Inch Universe Venerable Level 3, Universe Venerable Level 9 Combat. Power. Wang Xian revealed a smile. His current strength was not weak in the universe. Let's see if there are any treasures that can enhance my strength. He swept his gaze across the entire Dragon King Palace. With a wave of his dragon claws, 3 items flew to his side. These 3 treasures exuded a strange energy that was even more mystical and powerful than acquired treasures. One was the silvery white metal from the Iron and Steel Union. The other was a green fruit. However, it did not look like a fruit either. The fruit would make thumping sounds like a heart. Other than these 2 items, there was a blood-red cloth strip. The cloth strip contained a terrifying bloodthirsty energy. If the weak were to get close to it, they would go crazy. These 3 treasures are weirder than the other. What are they used for? Wang Xian mumbled to himself. These treasures were not inborn spiritual treasures. They were just unique treasures. Wang Xian did not even know what they were used for. Let Enchantress take a look at this blood-red cloth strip. As he spoke, he immediately sent a voice transmission to Enchantress. Enchantress was the current leader of the Enchantress. Her full name was Ao Enchantress. Enchantress controlled the black spider lilies as well as the mysterious dark energy. Dragon King. Soon, Enchantress flew over and greeted Wang Xian. Take a look at what this treasure is. Wang Xian passed the blood-red cloth strip to her and said, "Ah." Enchantress took it over and checked it. Her eyes sparkled. It looks like a treasure of the Netherworld clan. Enchantress guessed. However, I still need to study its specific uses. In that case, you can take this first. Wang Xian said to her. Enchantress nodded. What's the use of this silvery white metal? Wang Xian looked at the metal in the crystal box and his eyes sparkled. He opened it. The metal did not corrode and did not have any offensive power. Similarly, the metal seemed to have a life of its own as it kept moving. Wang Xian felt it with his hands and realized he could control it. With a thought, the silvery white metal changed into various forms. Gradually, it turned into a silvery white glove. Wang Xian put it on and held it in his hands. He squinted his eyes. He discovered a special characteristic of this metal. Isolation. When he wore this glove on his dragon claws, the energy from the outside world seemed to be completely isolated. It did not come into contact with any energy from the outside world. If this is all it has, it'll be too weak. Wang Xian mumbled to himself. Isolating all energy from the outside world was equivalent to a powerful treasure to deal with curses. However, there were too many limitations and it was not very useful. After putting it aside, Wang Xian's eyes landed on the green fruit. It was a very strange fruit that exuded a surging wood attribute as though it was alive. Let's give it a try. Wang Xian was looking forward to treasures related to plants. With the progenitor tree he could easily detect any wood attribute treasures. He transformed into his human form and came to the front of the progenitor tree. He placed the fruit on the trunk of the progenitor tree. At this time, to Wang Xian's surprise, the green fruit landed on the progenitor tree. Immediately after, a message appeared in his mind. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.